Hi, JP here at Websites for Beginners. We're going to be creating the hero section. If you haven't downloaded the images yet, make sure you do so. If you don't know how, follow the video in this series just before this one. We're going to start from scratch. We already have this content on the page that we brought in earlier. I want to get rid of it. You can go to the block settings at the top and select the delete function. There's an easier way to clear out the entire page if you want to do so. In the bottom where you see the page options toolbar, click on that and you will see at the top, it gives you the option to clear layout. You can do that. And in case you did so and you made a mistake and like, oops, you can undo it. So Control Z, Command Z, or simply click here in the page options toolbar on undo, and it will bring all of those back. So all is not lost. Of course, we want to clear them also. Let's go ahead and clear layout. Start building your page, click in the middle, and we're creating from scratch. So we select create your own. I usually begin by bringing in the background image first so that I know what kind of colors I have to use on the background image. Go to the block settings and from the toolbar, you select background and here you will see image. This opens up the media library and we select this one, which is our hero. I titled it hero and then click on select and this will drop the image for us in the background. Next, we apply an overlay. This is also very common, is to add some color over it, a dark one or a light one. From the toolbar next to the image, you will see colors. Select it. And I don't want to use any of these preset colors. And I can bring in a code here, but I'm going to show you a cool little trick here. And that is how you can select a color from the image on the page with this little dude down here, or dudes. And that is the color picker. Click on it and the color picker will now, as you hover over the image, give you the option to choose a color. I like this kind of blue-gray that is here within the saucer. So I'm going to click on it. And once I click on it, it applies that color over the image. So what's the point of bringing in the image if I'm going to just take it away with the color? The point is that I'm going to go to this slider here on the right, which is the opacity slider. 100% opacity means the color is solid, but as I drag it out, you can see the image comes through. I apply basically transparency. I reduce the opacity. There is a percentage and I'll put it on around 80 to 85. A lot of mistakes are made here by putting the percentage too low and then it still doesn't look good. But to start off with, around 85 is usually good to start with. Now, I want to bring in elements to build out my section. First, I will need text element because if you look here and we go to the page that we are creating, let's go to the top. We have this organic cafe, then we have a little description and we have a button. Let's do that. So we need a text element. Click on the plus in the middle, it opens the elements drawer and then under essentials, click hold on the text element and drag it and just drop it there in the middle. To interact with it, simply click on it and that brings up the toolbar for us. The first thing I'm going to do is change the color so that we have contrast that we can read what's going on here. I'll go to the colors and then select white. And just by putting your cursor in there, all of the text will be white. Next, I'm going to change the text. You can select the text or like in my case, I usually triple click. And that text that is there by default, we call it placeholder text or dummy text. Brizy adds that automatically just to give you a visual representation of how the text will look. And we are going to call this the organic cafe. And that is Alt 130. You have to figure out on your computer how to do that little accent mark on the E. Up next is the alignment. I'll put it in the center. And from here, we're going to work with the topography. The font I want to use is not here. You can see there are a number of fonts here that you can choose from. But the font I want to use is not here. It's called Caveat Brush. This is a Google font. And the wonderful thing is, as long as it's a Google font, which there are thousands of, you can bring them in for free. Click here on the Add New Font, and this opens the font manager. You can see uploading custom fonts. These are pro, but we're interested in the free stuff. So click on Google Fonts, and then you type in font name, caveat, and you will see it gives me two options, caveat and caveat brush. I'll select caveat brush and then select continue. And zoom, it's done. You click done too. Go back and click on the organic cafe, go to the T for topography, and you will see caveat brush appears here at the top now. That's pretty cool. Select it, and there's the font I want to use. Let's make it bigger. So from the size little field, I'll click hold on the up arrow key. And I'm just gonna keep going until I get to a size that I feel comfortable with. And what I'm showing you is reality how I work. There's not always like I know exactly the number that I want to do. I look at it and I'm trying to judge if it looks good. I know it's a little bit uncomfortable, but try and get used to that yourself. The other problem is that sometimes a number like 93 is a little awkward. Let's make it 92. Also try not get too worked up over that 1 pixel. By the way, pixel is the value that we use here to determine the size of how it will look. Under this, there's line height. Just click outside and you will see as I hover over this element, there's a lot of space here at the top and space at the bottom. I don't want that. That space that is added at the top and bottom is the line height. Select it, go to T for topography, and as I click down on this line height, you will see it reduces the space. For headings, I like to keep it at 1. You cannot go lower than 1, but that's where I like to work with it. It just gives me a little bit more control. Next, we want to bring in that little tagline that we have below it, a little bit of a description of our shop. Let's go to add elements, click on the plus here in the top left-hand corner. And again, we bring in a text element and I click hold and I drag it. Let's also put this first on white so that we can see it. And then we can type some text. Your friendly neighborhood coffee shop with the widest selection of brews and locally made pastries. Let's center align it, and now we go to our T for topography to style it out. You can see currently it's set to this font called Overpass. I want to put it on Roboto. Is it here? There's Roboto. I'm going to use Roboto. Problem is that every time I want to use Roboto, I have to go through all of these fonts, which can become a little bit annoying. So can we clean up and get rid of these other fonts so we don't get, the sideshow every time we choose the font? The answer is yes. Click on Add New Font, and then here at the top, select Fonts. First, we will choose the default font, which is currently set to Lato. We will look for Roboto, and just, where is Roboto? Roboto here at the bottom. Select it, and you will see now it turns to this check in the green circle. The rest, you go ahead and hover at the top right-hand corner and delete it. Of course, not caveat brush. We need that. We remove all of these other peanut gallery members so that we can have a nice clean interface. And if you realize there's a font later on that you actually wanted to keep, then you just go and do the same procedure, add new Google Fonts, add the name and bring it back. So we only have these 2 fonts left, close, and you see nice little clean interface. Select Roboto, and then under weight, I will put it on light. Increase the size to around 20, and we are done with this one. Finally, bring in a button. Click on the Add Elements, and the button is also here under Essentials. Like before, click, hold, and drag, and you see that thick gray line appears. This shows you everywhere that you can drop the button. If you make a mistake and you drop it here, how do you move it to the bottom? Click and hold, and just drag it. You see it gives you that blue little circle with the gray lines again. I'll drop it here. To work with the text, double click, and in caps you have to type find out more. Let's style this one out. So let's find out first what we're going to do here. We want to keep it in the center. Go all the way to the left to the button options and select icon. I don't want the icon for this one, so I'll delete it by clicking on the X. Let's go back to the button function and select next to fill, this one, which gives us an outline. We're going to make changes to the color. However, I want my corners of this button sharp. It looks like it's set to a sharp corner, but you will be tricked. Click on the 3 dots and you see there's actually a slight little rounded corner applied of 2 pixels. I want it super sharp. So I'll grab the slider and just drag it to 0. Now we have nice little sharp corners. Next, T for topography, we're going to put it on Roboto. It's already on Roboto. I will put it on 16 and then I'll go ahead and put it on normal. To give it a little bit more readability, I'll go to the letter spacing and I'll add this letter spacing, which adds more space between the letters, and I'll take it all the way to 2. Now let's work on the color. So you will see once I select the colors for this button that we have 4 properties at the top: background, text, border, and shadow. Let's first work with the background. There's no background. We use that preset, so you will see that the opacity slider is at 0, 100% transparent. Leave that. Then we go to text, make sure that this one on the right is selected. It is, it's already on white. And then we select border, select the swatch on the right, and now we have the white border. Shadow, select white, and now you will see we have these properties here at the bottom. Follow the properties, 1, and then tab to go to the next one. Tab again, and I put it on 5, tab, and 5. Let's see how that looks. That's right. I think 5 is maybe too much. I'll shift tab to go back and put it on 3, tab, and 3. There we go. So we have that nice little drop down shadow there. But there's also another function to the button or many other elements within the builder, and that is the hover state. So when you bring your cursor and you hover over it, it actually changes. I can already show you. As I take the cursor and I hover over the button, we have that teal color background come through. This is not our color scheme. That's not what we want. So I'll click here on the one below it, which says hover. When I click on hover, you will see it shows us a representation of how the hover will look, and we have the same options to change the colors. But I want to use that color that I've used for the overlay here. You know, I don't want to use any of these colors. To go and copy the name of that color, I'll go to the block, overlay of colors, and this is the color that we have used from the color picker. This is the number of the color here. So I'll double click to select it, then Control C, Command C to copy it, or you can right click and select copy. Now what I want to do is assign this swatch here to this color, but you don't do it here. You do it here all the way to the left in the sidebar where you see the little paintbrush that says styling. Select that. Now click on the second from the left, and in the name field, select it, and then Control V, Command V to paste that color. And that's how we brought in our own custom color, and we assigned it to a swatch, so we don't have to go and copy paste that color code every time. We can just use that locked in color. Go back to the button, click on it, go to colors, select hover, and now for background, we will select this one, second from the left. We go to text, we leave the text on white. The border, we're going to also put it on the second from the left. And that's it. You can leave the shadow on white. So what happens now if I click outside? Now it doesn't feel like anything is changing because it's over the exact same color as the background, but you'll soon see how that's going to work. Now let's spice things up. We're going to make this a full height block, which means it will stretch all the way in the browser screen, which we call the viewport, from the top to the bottom. And to do that, there's a setting in the block. So we go to block settings, and then with the settings icon selected, you go to height and you put it on full height. And now it stretches it to full height. Next, I feel that we need to bring the content a little bit more constrained so that we can break this line into 2 lines. And we also want the organic cafe, the cafe, to come under it. You'll be tempted to go and do the following. Go to the organic, click on it, and then press enter, return on your keyboard. You'll be tempted to do that, but do not do that. If everything is part of the same line or paragraph, rather don't add these hard line breaks in it. So I'm going to hit Control Z, Command Z to undo it. What you do is you constrain the whole size of the area in which this content is. And that can be done with the block settings. We go to the block settings, and again, here where you see settings, you will see that we have the width. Currently the width is set to 100%, but look what happens when I click and hold and drag. I am reducing it, and I've gotten it already down to, so 40%. I achieved that line break that I was looking for. 40%. So I'm only using 40% of my available area that I can work in. Two more things though, and this is again design considerations, is that again, all my content is too squashed. When things are too squashed, we lose structure, we lose focus. So it's always good that if you feel things look a little bit too mangled, to try and give them more separation. There are many ways you can do it, but in Brizy, I like to use an element for that. And that element is called the spacer. Click on Add Elements, and under Essentials, you will find the spacer here. Click, hold, and drag, and again, you have the thick gray lines. And I'm going to drop it here between our heading title and that little tag, and you will see it gives us space. Click on it to interact with it, and there's a blue little dot. Click, hold, and drag, and you see as I drag up and down, I'm adding space. If you want to add a specific value, go to the toolbar, click on the settings, and you can add it here. So let's say we want to put it on something like 35, just a little bit of space, we can do so. Click outside, looks a little bit better already. I want to also add space here between this and the button. I can bring in a new spacer, or I can just go ahead and duplicate the one I've just made. And duplication is a very big part of website design. Click on the spacer, and there's the duplicate function. Click, and now click hold on the one that you've just duplicated and drag. Click, hold, drag, and you get the gray lines again. This time we drop it here. Let's see how that looks. No, I'm going to grab this spacer and reduce it. And no, I'm actually going to delete that spacer. So what I did is I clicked on it and I selected delete, and I'm going to add a little bit more space here. There is it. The other thing I'm not too fond of is the line spacing for this text element. Click on it, go to T for topography, and I'll reduce it to 1.7. A good reference for line height is usually 1.6 to 1.9. And then everything in between is your preference, or also it depends on the kind of font that you are using. So 1.7 is what I'm going to go for here. Oh, wow. So here we have, it's done. We can add a little bit of animation to the button. So select the button, go to settings, and you will see that we have at the top here on the sidebar on the right, styling, and we have effects. And you hop over to effects. Let's use slide. And then here from the slide settings, direction, it's already set to up, which is exactly where I want it. And you can play around with the duration and the delay, but I think this works pretty good for me. There's a shortcut if you quickly want to go to the effects. So select the button that you are working with and then hit Control-K, Command-K. And that will take you directly to effects. So you don't have to go through settings, stylings, effects. You can just immediately go to the effects. I haven't saved since I started, which is a big mistake. Let's do that. Control-S, Command-S. And then let's go preview what we've done now. Control-Shift-P, Command-Shift-P. And that opens the new tab in your browser. And all that content that we created in the previous video that is gone, it's replaced with this content. It's a full section all the way from the top to the bottom, and it looks groovy. But we're not done. And it's very important. I almost get goosebumps just saying that, because people forget all the time. You're not done. There are two more steps here, or two more phases here. You have to go look at tablet, and you have to go look at mobile. And this is often where the crocodile tears start, because you've created this great section and now you go to tablet, you go to mobile, and it doesn't work. We refer to this as responsive design. When we refer to a website as being responsive or its responsiveness, we refer to how well this website can adapt from a desktop to a tablet to a mobile device. All builders nowadays have that. Just a few years ago, I'm talking a couple of years ago, it wasn't an included feature. This is pretty new, but you know how quickly new things become old. But it is so new that people still forget to go and check for it. And then you get these websites online, and when you view them on a mobile device, they just don't look good. Go to the sidebar on the right and you see this monitor. If you select it, you will see you have the option for desktop, tablet, and mobile. We go to tablet and there's a few things that change. First of all, it gives us a tablet view. Second thing, it gives us the sidebar on the right open by default. The reason is that there is more real estate now, all this white space, so it can show it all the time. The other big thing that's going to change here is that when you make changes now, I click here on this text, you will see that this toolbar is far shorter, much shorter than the text toolbar that we saw on the desktop. Why? Because these are the only things that you can change for the tablet. Some things you can change, some things you cannot change. And that makes it easy that you don't screw it up, Bobby. I really like this way of doing it. What we need to do now is make sure that this is going to look good on tablet. First of all, you don't need full height sections on tablets. Go to the block settings, click on the settings, and where it says height, we're going to add it to auto. Now it will just automatically adjust to the height of the content. Second thing is, we don't need all the space on the left and the right. This 40% restriction is way too big. I'll take it up to 80%, and it's going to look much better. Well, 80, okay, 65, because I still want that organic cafe to break into 2 lines. If you just click somewhere on the canvas, you're going to have a good idea of how it will look, but I think I need a little bit more space at the top and the bottom. And that space is called padding. I hover with my cursor at the top and you will see a blue transparent bar appears that says 50 pixels. That is the padding applied at the top. Click, hold and drag with your mouse down and just drag it to around 85 pixels. Same here at the bottom. Hover over it, click, hold and drag and take it to around 85. You can also enter this manually. Go to the block settings and select it, and then on the right, select styling. You will see we have padding there. Padding at the top, 85%, that's what I added, and padding at the bottom of 85%. And by default, Brizy gives us 15 pixels on the left and right. Don't care about that. Now we have a look at this. Do we think it looks good? Few things here. Always make sure that your text is at 16. Minimum 16. So if you think this was a little too big and you want to bring it down, I can do so. I'll take it to 18. But look at the button. When I select the button, it's not put on normal weight. And this is because there are already some functions baked into the responsive designs for tablet and mobile. You need to come and make those changes here. The other one I also want to change is the letter spacing for the button. I'll take it again up to 2 to give it more space. Yeah. Looks good. So we're done. Remember this, stage 3. And stage 3 is the mobile. Go again to the sidebar on the left, select the monitor and select mobile. Now things look very different. They look very mobile-ish. Let's go through the same procedure by not making this a full height section. Click on the block settings and then under height, we say auto. And then for the width, I'm going to put this on 100%. I'm going to use all the space on my little screen for the mobile that I have. If you can understand these few concepts that I'm sharing with you at the moment, then you'll be okay when it comes to mobile design. Use all the space on the mobile design and use a little bit less space on tablet and add a lot of space when you go to desktop. This doesn't look good for mobile device yet. A few things. Let's add the space at the top again for padding. Click, hold and drag, and I'll bring this one to around 75, or I can type it in manually. And I'll do the same here at the bottom. Oh, 80 looks good. The text here for me is a little too big, and you have this responsive control over the text. So what I'll do is I'll click on the organic cafe, go to T for topography, and currently the size is at 93 pixels, that very uncomfortable 3. But I'll click and hold and take it to 73, just to mess with you. We do the same for this text here. Click on it, T for topography, and I'm going to reduce this to 18 or 16. I used to be a big fan of 16. I thought 16 is enough until I started losing my vision. And I also had to start wearing reading glasses. I realized that if I don't have my glasses with me, 18 actually is good for people who's just, your eyesight is not that great. So 18 is my preference nowadays because I make it for myself, but 16 is comfortable enough. So let's go for 16. I'll bring it down to 16. We leave it like that. And then we have the button that we also have to go and change out again. Click on the T for topography, put it on 60, and I'll increase the letter spacing to 2 and put the weight on normal. Let's add a little bit more space at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to bring this to around 120, and then we can put this one on 130 at the bottom. Brilliant. So update, and we go and preview it on the front. So click on preview or Control-Shift-P, Command-Shift-P. But how are you going to view the tablet and the mobile? Every browser, whether you are using Safari, Chrome, Edge, Brave, Firefox, have a function that allows you to see how this will render when you have responsive displays. And that is done through the inspector mode. Don't get scared about what I'm going to show you. Just go ahead and follow what I do. On your keyboard, there is a function key. Function is the F key, F12. So go ahead and hit F12. And this will open the inspector with an alarming amount of text on the right. And I did tell you no coding, and I was critical of people who tell that and then show you coding. But I'm promising you, you don't have to care about that. What you need to look for, and this will change a little bit from browser to browser, is this kind of icon. It says toggle device toolbar. Other will say responsive devices. You will see it looks like a little mobile and a tablet. Click on that, and that is going to put you into this responsive display. Now it puts it on a sticky memory because last time I viewed it, but you will see in the top you have a drop down of these devices that you can look at. So I put it on Samsung Galaxy S20, but let's start with an iPad, and I'll put it on an iPad Air. Does it look good? It looks okay. So no changes. And then the next one, let's go to the iPhone 12 Pro. Yep, I can live with that, or Galaxy S12. And you see just how little bit it changes between those two devices. Question, why am I doing this when the Brizy Builder already shows me how it will look? Brizy Builder doesn't show you how it will look. In fact, it does a poor job currently. They are working on a system called breakpoints that we will get in the future. But currently, if you look at the width and the height of this compared to how it looks on the Samsung Galaxy, this is way out with the same dimensions. And that's why you need to come and do this. Use these presets here, and you can also click here at the top on responsive. Now you have this handlebar on the top at the right, not the top, at the right. Click, hold, and drag, and you can see how it will display as you make it narrower. And up here in the dimensions boxes, you have these. Now, few phones go below like 360. So if you really want to push it and understand, you can just type there at the top 360 pixels in width. Let's do that. And if it looks good on 360, you are confident that it's going to look good on any other device. A few of them, but there are a number of them that goes as narrow as 360. To get out of this, you can just click again here on the toggle device toolbar. And then to get out of this inspector mode, you can either hit the function F12 again on your keyboard, or you can select the close button there at the top to take you back to the preview. Let's just close these tabs that we have open currently and just focus on our builder. And we go back to our desktop preview. Now I showed you earlier, you go to the navigation sidebar on the left and you can toggle or choose desktop, tablet, or mobile. There's a shortcut key for that. And I just use those shortcut keys all the time. On your keyboard, you hold Control and then you use the minus or plus key to cycle up or down. What you consider up or down. If you go to desktop first, I'll put it on desktop, and you use Control minus, it will go to tablet. Control minus. See, I hit Control Command minus again, it takes me to my mobile. Now I can go up, use the plus key, Control plus, Command plus, same thing. But I can just keep cycling. So if I'm in desktop and I hit Control Command plus, now it will take me to mobile. And this is a very nice way of quickly going through it. Many people are not comfortable with shortcut keys. That's why we have that little icon in the sidebar on the left that you can easily cycle through it. So you design, and then you basically have to do design touches afterwards for tablet and mobile devices, but it's worth the extra work. For good measure, always save your work, Control S, Command S. That brings us to the end of this hero section. In the next, we're going to do the About section.